reporting that Jalen Milroe has been invited to attend the NFL draft in Green Bay.
3 NFL scouts told USA Today that they would be shocked if Jalen Milroe were picked in the first 2 days. So that's the first 3 rounds.
I think people's first inclination of what could happen with Milroe is to happen. They don't want the Aaron Rodgers.
Brady
Quinns. It's not fair. It's not like, yeah, it's great TV, but it's not a good look.
Jalen Milroe might be the biggest mystery in the 2025 NFL draft. He's got all the tools that scouts drool over with legit sprinter speed and a cannon for an arm, but for every highlight reel play,
deeper. First down and more. Tight roping down the sideline. Milroe again has to elude pressure, launches downfield, and it's caught for a touchdown. He collects it, immediately is on the run, trying to stay alive and hurls it along the sidelines.
There's a head scratcher.
Gets it out quickly, but makes a pick. It's intercepted. Janae Barron makes the kind of takeaway. Back pressures. Milroe keeps it, breaks the tackle of Sanders, still on the edge, loses the ball, rolling around. Told you why. Milroe. And he waited too long, the ball's it out.
Milroe is your prototypical boomer bust prospect. He's pretty raw, he's electric, and he could either become one of the very best quarterbacks in the NFL or a flame out just waiting to happen. And truthfully, that's what makes him the most confusing prospect in the 2025 draft class. Now, as a youngster growing up with dreams of being a superstar, Jalen Milroe's hero was Vince Young. The Texas Longhorn legend brought a new meaning to the phrase dual threat quarterback when dominating at Texas, and his play style has instilled a love for the sport in a young Jalen. This passion manifested into a very exciting high school footballing package when Jalen Milroe attended Tompkins High School, tallying 3,825 passing yards, 559 rushing yards, and 53 total touchdowns over his 2 seasons as the starter. That was enough to put him on the radar of high-profile college programs as a 4-star recruit in the 14th ranked quarterback in the 2021 class. An offer from his beloved Texas Longhorns was hard to turn down, but the opportunity to play for Nick Saban's Alabama Crimson Tide was just too tempting. Jalen had high hopes of making it to the NFL, and he recognized that the ability to play in a pro-style offense in Tuscaloosa under one of the best coaches in college sporting history gave him the best shot at achieving that. And that sounded pretty logical for sure until the Crimson Tide offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien suggested that he swap positions. It's not exactly a ringing endorsement to inspire your new freshman quarterback, but it did at least give Milroe a chip on his shoulder that he didn't have before. His first real shot at the starting job arrived in 2023, his redshirt sophomore year, when Jalen beat out 2 other quarterbacks to secure the role. The decision to name Milroe the starter was vindicted instantly, with him scorching Middle Tennessee for 3 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns in a 56-7 hammering. It was truthfully a very ideal start for Milroe, but a test arrived 1 week later. It was in the form of the Texas Longhorns, and Milroe failed it. Despite posting almost 300 total yards and 2 touchdowns, Milroe's 2 interceptions led to a costly and humiliating 10-point defeat. As we all know, standards are very high in Tuscaloosa, and this performance landed Milroe on the bench 1 week later for the team's clash with USF. If guys want security in their position, they need to play well, is what Nick Saban told reporters after that loss, testing Milroe's resilience with another blow to his pride and confidence. Thankfully for Jalen, neither quarterback looked threatening under center against USF, handing the starting role right back to Jalen, and this time he did not relinquish it. The Crimson Tide were a much more consistent offensive force with Milroe under center, winning 9 straight games to set up an SEC championship clash against Georgia. Milroe was superb all year long, showing off his arm with a 321-yard, 3-touchdown outing against Texas A&M, and showing off his legs with a 155-yard, 4-touchdown outing against LSU. Then, against their fierce rivals Auburn, with an SEC championship game appearance on the line, he served up his most dramatic moment yet. In a tense Iron Bowl clash, the Crimson Tide faced 4th and goal from the 31-yard line with just 43 seconds left on the clock, down by 24 points to 20. Alabama's season looked essentially over unless Milroe could find a magical moment, and he did.
Okay, firing. Near corner. It's caught! Touchdown, Alabama! Isaiah Bond on a 4th and a
In doing so, Milroe showed off the all-important clutch gene you want to see in your quarterback, and his legendary status in Tuscaloosa only went higher when he led the team to an SEC championship game win over the heavily favored Georgia Bulldogs 1 week later. Unfortunately though, an underwhelming outing against the eventual champions in Michigan in the Rose Bowl brought an end to the season, but Milroe had absolutely impressed in his first season as a full-time starter. He wrapped the year up with a 65.8% completion rate for 2,834 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, with 531 yards and 12 touchdowns coming on the ground. And coming into the 2024 season, a lot of people were just ready to watch Jalen Milroe play because of how good he looked in the 2023 season. His rare speed and strong arm hinted at an upside that could place him among the NFL's elite quarterbacks, but he needed to show signs of becoming a more reliable passer to make that happen. Things certainly did appear to be heading in that direction when Milroe, now playing under their new head coach Kalen DeBoer, notched 18 total touchdowns in the first 4 games of his 2024 campaign. He was just electrifying as both a passer and a rusher, and helping Alabama dispatch their early season opponents, scoring 2 rushing touchdowns in each of the first 4 games. This impressive stretch was highlighted by a sensational outing against Georgia in which Milroe completed 81.8% of his passes for 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception to go along with a whopping 117 yards and 2 scores on the ground. This was the dynamic, game-breaking quarterback that the Crimson Tide fans were hoping to see Milroe develop into. And despite suffering a surprise loss to Vanderbilt in the 5th game of the season, Milroe again played well, almost doing enough to get the win, completing 75% of his passes for 310 yards and a score in the process. Signs of a more reliable passer were coming into sight, and Milroe's quality first 5 weeks of the season had placed him firmly in the Heisman Trophy race. He had scored 20 total touchdowns and thrown just 2 interceptions while leading Alabama to a 4-1 start under a new head coach. He dazzled as a rusher, was decisive as a passer, and was protecting the ball well. In other words, he was doing exactly what he needed to do to play himself into contention for the first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. But then it all started to go wrong for him. Over the second half of the season, Milroe threw just 5 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, with losses to Tennessee and Oklahoma removing any hopes of earning a playoff spot, even in the newly expanded college football playoff structure. The problem wasn't just the losses though, it was how ugly those losses were. Against Tennessee, he completed just 55.6% of his passes and threw 2 interceptions to just 1 touchdown, while also not being able to impact the game with his legs, producing just 11 rushing yards from 14 attempts. Things were then even worse against Oklahoma, who weren't exactly known for having a fearsome defense, as they ranked 43rd in the nation, giving up 208.1 passing yards per game, but were able to limit Milroe to a dismal 42.3% completion rate for 164 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Again, the lack of a run threat was also prominent, with Milroe producing just 7 yards from his 15 attempts. Milroe and the Bama offense could muster up only 3 points in the embarrassing 24-3 loss to the Sooners, reflecting the low floor that was appearing a little too often now in Milroe's game. It then emerged again in their bowl game when completing just 50% of his passes against Michigan for 192 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in a 19-13 loss. Milroe also fumbled twice, produced just 7 yards on 16 rush attempts, and took 5 sacks. And yes, this was against a very good Michigan defensive line, but this is another area that he struggled in the past with. In 2023, his 44 sacks ranked 4th most in the nation, and while he improved to only be sacked 23 times in 2024, this is still an area he needs to improve, especially considering his freakish athleticism. Milroe's struggles throughout the early stages of that Michigan game too even led some reporters to question whether Kalen DeBoer came close to benching his starting quarterback, to which he said he wasn't, citing Milroe's mobility as a reason why. And while Jalen Milroe made no impact on the game as a rusher, you can understand why DeBoer had to stick with him, because his highs as a dual threat quarterback are incredibly high. Literally 1 game earlier, Milroe had scorched Auburn for 104 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground, and then back in November, the dual threat quarterback had picked up a whopping 185 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns against LSU. This is the high profile, just kind of potential you're going to get with Milroe, but it's the perfect example of what makes him so confusing as a prospect. He is a truly special athlete who can outrun almost anyone on defense and take any play to the house, proven by his mega 4.37 40-yard dash at his pro day. Then when playing with a controlled throwing motion, he can be lethal as a passer, but he just wasn't doing that consistently enough over the second half of the season. He is still incredibly raw as a passer, holds onto the ball too long, and contributes too many negative plays. These definitely weren't a problem in the first half of the 2024 season when he appeared to be playing himself into a top 10 draft selection, but they popped up time and time again in the second half of the season. As a result, he is now looking like a second or third round selection with a boom or bust profile. Just for context too, Milroe's adjusted completion percentage, which accounts for drops and throwaways, came in at a 72.9% in 2024 according to PFF. That lands him 48th amongst quarterbacks who played at least half the season, as opposed to, well, let's take Cam Ward for example, who stuck at 76.5%, which sticks him 12th in the nation, and Shedeur Sanders' 81.8% puts him second in the nation, which combined with a far more advanced quarterbacking traits from those two explains why they are considered to be in a different tier than Milroe. It's not just those guys either though. Dillon Gabriel led the nation with an 81.9% adjusted completion rate in 2024 according to PFF, and Jackson Dart landed 7th with 77.7%, followed up by Ewers at 19th. Again, Milroe is all the way down there at 48th, reflecting the struggles he had in the passing game in 2024 in relation to the rest of this class. With his big arm though, Milroe is unsurprisingly an effective deep passer of the ball, earning a 93.1 PFF grade with 892 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions coming from 56 attempts. However, his numbers on short passes are once again very concerning. His PFF grade on passes under 10 yards is just 60.3, which is all the way down at 111th amongst quarterbacks to play half the season, tossing 4 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Like, it's those numbers that are just really just alarming for any of these NFL teams that are going to try and take a shot on Milroe in this draft. Like, yes, his insane athleticism and cannon arm mean that the game-breaking upside is in there, but this lack of reliability in the short yards passing game just reflects a very low floor that could very well burn whoever ends up selecting him. Nevertheless, though, the upside is always going to catch the eye of NFL teams, and if you're going to pick a developmental quarterback, then you may as well take one who can throw deep and burn even the quickest of NFL defenders. Like, I mean, from day one, he would enter the NFL as an elite rushing threat, and his maneuverability can help navigate poor offensive line play with a bit of development. If he can land in the right situation behind a veteran quarterback who gives him plenty of time to develop and improve his fundamentals, then who really does know? Maybe, just maybe, he can reach that upside. Like, I mean, we've all seen how good he can be, and not many quarterbacks can pick up 185 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns in a single game, or find a receiver at the back corner of the end zone on 4th and miles to keep your playoff hopes alive. This kid can absolutely do it. He's just been let down by inconsistencies throughout his final season of college football. But with the right coaching and improvements to his throwing motion, this is absolutely the kind of guy to take a risk on. Because, I mean, if he figures it out, who knows how high this kid's ceiling is.